on that trophy. Second season running that she's done so in the colours of Manchester City.
Oh, lovely footwork there from Weir! A special goal in a special game from Caroline Weir. That is world class, that is outstanding, a worldie from Weir.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of MCW Fancast. I'm Emma, thanks for listening. On this week's show we're joined by Paul Clark as we look back on recent results in both the Women's Super League against rivals Manchester United, in the derby at the LSV, and Wednesday night's Conti Cup Group game opener against Everton at the Academy Stadium. Following the 5-1 win at the Academy Stadium against Everton, hear from Gareth Taylor speaking at full time.
I thought we played well in spells. I think, it was... we showed our superiority when it mattered. We scored some really good goals, created good attacking play on the flanks, with Janine at times and Lauren on the other side. And then, Jess came on and gave us fresh impetus as well. So, I thought overall it was a really good performance. We tried a new system tonight, which, we've only had a couple of days to really kind of practice. The way we play, we always look to kind of build from the back if we can, where possible. I think Everton put us under high pressure on a number of occasions, and at times we were successful in beating that, and I think it gave us good options, that shape in the front line. So I think it's a really pleasing performance tonight. We weren't fluid in every moment of the game, but we had to sustain some attacks from Everton, and certainly when the game was 1-1 or 2-1, it was closer at times. But I think you could just see the kind of players relaxing a bit more when we scored the third goal. And, then it was just a case of how many we were going to get because everyone was playing with real confidence. Well, Saturday's game is difficult to kind of judge, I think. But if you look at our performances this season, I think the performance in terms of the way we play in the building through the phases has been good. I think our box play, so when we're talking about final third, has been inconsistent. We've gone 5 tonight. We've gone 6 against Leicester. We've gone 4 in the opening game of the season. And then we've had, some 1s and 0s. So it'll always be about what happens at the top end of the pitch. And I'm always confident that we'll have enough good quality play to be able to get through to the final bit. And then it's just a case of taking your opportunity, taking your moments. And like I say, tonight's a good night because sometimes you get that. And then other nights you come away and you probably don't get what you deserve. Level of performance for me is always a big one where you can kind of take perspective and look at what we're trying to achieve. And the good thing about working in the way we do is that we have a process and we can gauge success or not, but we know that the game is won in both boxes and that'll never change. Both strikers scored again tonight. They both scored on Saturday. I think, we know that they've got goals in them. We know that they've got performances in them, and it's just our job to try and push them as much as they can because I think there's really more to come from all of our attacking players. And Jess Park comes on, scores as well. Looked really lively, really energetic, and was a real thorn in the side for Everton's back line. Jess has played a big part in me being here, and I think that Jess has shown real good moments for us, and that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing more and more of those moments on a more regular basis, and that's the challenge that I made to Jess, that when you get these opportunities, you've got to make it count. You've got to take your opportunity and you've got to be as lively as you possibly can. You've got to create panic in the back line, and I certainly think she did that, and I think she's done that over the performances she's given us this season. So it's a real positive moment for Jess, and we need to maintain that. She needs to maintain that level of performance and that level of effort because, if we can get that on a regular basis, we've got a real talented player. Yeah, she did great, Ruby. I think, that we saw in this player that there's a bright future ahead of her, and, we try to manage the kind of the right conditions for her, and ideally probably in a home game just to try and make it as easy as possible. We can't forget that she's a young player, and like I say, she took it on and played with real maturity tonight. I thought she had an excellent performance. No, it's important. We take every competition, in the right manner And although at times it might not look that way, we want to be successful in every competition we go into, and that's the case with this one. We know we've suffered in another competition, and we've given ourselves an uphill battle in one of the other ones. So this is one where we look at. I think it was an important game tonight for us, just because I think this game will potentially have a big say on who goes through to the qualifying rounds. So I think it was really important that we got a good level of performance, which we had, and then obviously the result, which is great. Yeah, I'm pleased. I think when you look at the games we have not been successful in this season, I think we played well. I think we've created similar in terms of the opportunities like we've had tonight. We just haven't forced a way in and forced the ball over the line. So sometimes that can happen in football. And at the end we were pretty clear in opportunities and scoring some really good goals. So I think it's just making sure that there's perspective from us in terms of our performances. I always look at the performances. The results are obviously massively important, and this one tonight just gives everyone a lift going into the international break. And I feel like we really deserved it. The girls worked really hard. Well, yeah, I'm not too sure when those players will return, but I think it's great that we've gone into an international break with a good performance, a good result, and it's now just a case of hoping that players come back in good physical condition, good mental condition as well after the international break, and looking forward to going again.
I'm Lauren Hemp and you're listening to MCW Fancast.
Paul, great to have you back on the podcast again. How are you doing?
A lot better than last time when we were basically sat around with black armbands on and everything seemed very dark at that time. But the last couple of results, I think, have shown us that there's some light at the end of the tunnel. The resilience of the team and the professionalism of the team has shone through, and two very good results in very different ways, of course. I think have shown that the team has responded, and also the fans, judging by last night's very positive atmosphere, have responded too.
Let's start with United first. Obviously, the Manchester derby. How did you feel heading into the game, first of all?
Well, I was not confident that we could get a result there. I thought the best we could hope for was a draw, which obviously was the result. But I think if we'd had 11 players on the field, I think we would have won that game. I think we were a better team. But obviously, when you go down to 10 players for nearly 60 minutes, to get any sort of result in those circumstances was a bonus. So I wasn't massively confident. But when we went down to 10, I thought, we're going to be struggling here. And then when we conceded 2 quite soft goals, I thought, the floodgates might open here. But actually, in fairness to the team, they showed the same sort of resilience he had for the previous 40-odd minutes and came back into the game with a really good goal. So, both our goals were well-worked goals. Theirs were, I thought, quite soft. So I thought it was a great result given the circumstances, and it was entirely the right decision that a red card was shown for that tackle.
Obviously, initially after the sort of red card, I don't think there was any sort of arguments as to the decision. It was the correct one, and it's just unfortunate, obviously, how it happened. I think Georgia's probably gone in for there looking for the bounce of the ball and just sort of mistimed it, really, I think.
Yeah, the reality is that when you watch a lot of football, you can tell when it's a bad tackle by the reaction of the other players. When other players know it's malicious. There was no malice in that tackle. It was just a badly timed tackle. And the social media reaction, people abusing her online, is an absolute disgrace. And nobody in the game, and particularly in the women's game, can condone that sort of abuse. Things happen in football. Accidents happen. Things go badly wrong. Things are mistimed. You know when it's a malicious thing. It wasn't malicious. And the reaction online was absolutely disgusting. She's apologised. She'll learn from it because she's a smart player, and we move on. And the United player has accepted, rightly and generously accepted the apology. So let's learn from this. She'll learn from it. and let's learn that abusing a young woman who is a very good player and a decent person is not acceptable in women's football.
Yeah, definitely. Well said. I think the response, though, from the team itself, I mean, minutes after the sending off, great response through a great link-up play with Demi and Bunny Shaw.
Well, isn't Bunny Shaw a revelation?
Yeah, coming to be, yeah.
I think she turned out to be a really, really good acquisition for us. I mean, I think we knew she was a good player. Her record's very good, but she's an outstanding player. She stepped up with the other 9 players, in the United game, and put a shift in. It's a long time to go in a game. Nearly a half and a third. It's nearly 60 minutes worth of football to keep that intensity, to keep that level of concentration against, let's be honest, a very good United side. They're a very promising team, some good players in that side, and they've been together a long time. Okay, they've lost the American imports, but the nucleus of that team has been together for nearly, at least a year and probably 2 seasons. So they know how to play. We're still a little bit of a work in progress because of all the injuries. And then you go down to 10 players and suddenly you've got a long way back from there. So to come out of it with a draw away from home, I think was probably, in the circumstances, the best that we could have hoped for.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say I think United did start the game on the better foot. Obviously, they got the goal through Lucy Stanley-Forth. Obviously, Impact sub came on for United. I thought it was quite a savvy little finish from Stanley-Forth, to be honest. I kind of felt, I always kind of felt as though United would find a way back in, to be honest. And obviously when they go ahead, it's now, you're looking for who's going to step up within City and what can we do here? How can we fight? How can we draw on the character and get something out of this game? And I think that's what we've lacked this season. And the fact that we were able to do it and able to do it against United as well, in a game that for me was very much 50-50, which I think, in terms of like the possession, in terms of the opportunities, in terms of, shots on target, it was a good battle, I think, between 2 good sides. And I was just really pleased with the way that, Jess Park has come in again into this game. And to be honest, when she hit it, because we were sat behind it, I initially thought it was Jess Park who scored the goal. Didn't even realise till we got back to the bus and everyone was saying, well, actually, no, it was Ellen White. So, but either way, it was a spectacular effort from Jess and great for Ellen to that poacher's finish to get the goal.
Well, it's I think it typifies a player like Ellen, who's probably going towards the end of her career now, but is still a world-class striker. And one of our younger players who's just been named in the England under-23s, which is a fantastic development for the women's game at international level. You've got her knocking a brilliant shot in, and Ellen White just being in the right place at the right time and being calm enough just to slot it away. We've said it time and time again on this podcast. You talk about tap-ins. They're only tap-ins if you're in the right place. Yeah. If you've made the move, if you've made that, you got yourself in the right position. So yeah, it was a tap-in, but that's the sort of thing that a world-class striker does, year in, year out. So it was great. And I did worry when we went 2-1 down whether we could get back into it. But I think it shows that whatever's happened at the club over the last 2 or 3 weeks, that there may have well been an frank exchange of views on the training pitch. There may have been senior leaders in the team will no doubt have been talking to the coaches. They've responded to whatever, what's been, a difficult season so far. And that was the turning point. The resilience they showed and the professionalism they showed against a good side in quite hostile environment in Leigh, which is literally in the back of beyond. To go there and to show that resilience over that period of time is a testament to them as a team and a testament to the fans, who I think exposed the myth of Leigh, Sports Village being some sort of cauldron I think that myth has been well and truly exposed now.
Yeah, and before we do move on, I just want to say as well, the goal itself obviously came from a goal kick from from Taib, and it was very much Edison-esque. And obviously we're so used to seeing City play out from the back, but it just goes to show, when we do read the game and see those opportunities, it was great to see us do something a little bit different.
Well, Taib's really put the cat among the pigeons, hasn't she, for the number 1 shirt? Because I think we all just assumed she was, keeping that shirt warm until Ellie comes back. But I have to say, she's played well, and she deserves to keep the shirt. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind. I watched her last night against Everton. Her distribution is really good. There's clearly at our club there's an emphasis on goalkeepers being, really good at distributing the ball. We've got all of our keepers do that, but last night and against United, her distribution was spot on, and she's not let us down. So
heavily straps as well. She was carrying a very heavily strapped knee as well in both games.
Well, fair play to her, because the next one down is the young keeper that was on loan at Fylde, who we called back, and you really don't want her to be playing against Chelsea. Not that I think she's not a good keeper, but it's a big step, isn't it, to go from being out on form,
not being eased into it, let's say.
No, exactly. So we that's an example of all the players being willing to put the shirt on and go the extra mile. Players playing out of position, players, doing, things that they wouldn't have expected to be doing. Janine Becky wouldn't have been expected to play at right back. Probably the last time she played at right back was when she was under 14s in Canada. So these players are trying their best to plug the holes, and we should give them credit for that. And I think, we've had a tough season, but I think I would agree with Gareth Taylor to an extent. We've not been a million miles away, and the big problem has been scoring goals. We're now starting to address that, because we created a load of chances against Everton, way more than they did. So we're starting to see that come round. And if you look at that injury list, my daughter was saying last night at the game, she said, "Dad, this is a really long list, isn't it?" I said, "No, it's as long as I've ever seen it in either the men's or the women's teams." It's pretty catastrophic when you look at it, because even a lot of our new players are injured. So they've got to come back in the team and get used to the City way. So we've got a lot on, but fair play to the squad that they've stepped up and they've shown what great professionals they are.
Yeah. So in the end, obviously full-time result 2-2. Happy with the point.
Totally happy with the point, given the circumstances, given the pressure, given the injury list, given the nature of a derby against a very good emerging United side. I'd have took a point. I'd have took a point before the game, but I was even more delighted when we came away with a point, given that we could have quite easily thrown that away, and we would have been in real trouble then, I think. And I think we would be way off the pace. So now we're starting to get back into something like where we should be, and hopefully being able to push back for a European place, which I think is certainly attainable.
Yeah. And obviously Wednesday night, we was back at the Academy Stadium, this time against Everton for our first group game in the Conti Cup. A fantastic result at home. How pleased were you with the result itself and the performance from the team?
Absolutely delighted with the result. Everton are a mystery team. They're one of those teams where you look at them on paper, they should be giving us a real run for our money, and that was a strong team.
It always kind of feels like that with Everton, though, doesn't it?
It does, but if you look at that team they put out last night, strong side. It wasn't the reserves, and yet they just don't seem to be firing, given the quality of the players in that side. And last night was a case in point that we were the better side for the majority of the game, the vast majority of the game. I think they had a 10-minute spell around the time they scored the goal, and after that we bossed that game. We were the better side. I mean, their right back will literally be waking up in the middle of the night sweating in the middle of a nightmare because she absolutely got the runner man last night. She just Lauren Hemp just absolutely tore her to pieces. There's one moment where she just ran past her with the ball, and the right back looked like she was running through quicksand. She just left her for dead. So it was a strange one. I always think with Everton, I'm always like twitchy about them, and yet we always do a number on them. So and that's
really hard, isn't it? Because Everton again, you spoke, at the beginning of the season, a lot of, media journalists, they had them down for, potential top 3 finish. The acquisitions that obviously Willie Kirk's made, the way he's gone about his business in the summer and strengthening squad, bringing some real good quality names into the squad, and players that we know of as well, and know what they're capable of. So it always just surprises me so much. Really, really does. And again, I thought, given, the start of the season, the result at Goodison Park, they want to come to the academy and right the wrongs of that game. And again, there was just little to really, apart from obviously when they got back into the game, the goal through Clinton, and a few moments of possession, and there was really nothing to worry about or test us or anything really from Everton that really caused us a great, I don't know, just any great problem really. And I hate to say that about Everton, because I just feel like the one side that you kind of just expect more from, that just never seem to really deliver. I don't know if Willie Kirk's possibly messed around too much, tinkered with the side too much, and inevitably it's just sort of not coming together for them.
Well, he certainly got it absolutely wrong in the league game. I mean, he got it catastrophically wrong. I mean, it was a disaster. His first half, they just were at the races. So, but last night was different. That I think City grew in confidence through the game. You could see them starting to think, we've got the measure of this lot. We're better than this lot, even with our reduced, squad, even with people playing out of position. We're better than this lot. And what was really encouraging last night, apart from 5 goals that we scored, there was a couple of chances. Bunny had one that was, one-on-one with the keeper. She might have placed it better. There was a couple of really good chances that we might have scored more goals. There was loads of balls fizzing across the box, which we haven't seen for ages. That's not been happening.
And we scored from a corner.
We beat the first person at the a couple of times last night. It was astonishing. We actually got the ball across it, and of course, when you knock it when you get it into the box in that way, and you've got someone like Bunny who's big and powerful, then you got a real chance of scoring a goal. I mean, that wasn't an easy header that she had. It wasn't a free header. She had a lot of work to do last night. And by the way, let's be clear about Bunny Shaw. She's not just a big front forward. There was a moment, probably in front of us, might have been in front of the supporters club, where she danced around a player on the touchline. She's got good feet. She danced around it, and a couple of times she beat about 3 players and got out of trouble. She's a very, very accomplished player, so that was a massive bonus last night. I think we're starting to see the best of her now, and she put a shift in last night with Ellen White up front. They put a massive shift in last night, and did give their back four a moment's peace.
This is what I'm saying about the change in terms of the team itself. I've mentioned in the past about having Bunny and Ellen playing together, and it was great to see that Gareth chose to start the game with them playing up front together. Obviously, we've seen them on the pitch together and in other games where either Ellen or Bunny has come on as a sub. I can't remember which game, but it was great that he started with her almost playing with a bit of a back 3, really. So it allowed us to obviously press higher. But the fact that we had goals throughout the team, 5 different goal scorers contributing goals, is really, really pleasing to see as well. We're not necessarily relying on Bunny or Ellen to get the goals. Everyone really contributed to that performance last night, and it was a real team effort.
Well, what you see with players like Bunny and Ellen is 2 very clever players, and they create spaces. And you see that over the road at the Etihad, people like Foden and Grealish in the men's team create, and David Silva before, and they create these gaps and drag players around, which creates opportunities for other players. So that's why we're getting goals from other players, other areas, because the back four don't know whether to go with Bunny, don't know where to go with Ellen. The runs that they're moving, the positions that they're taking are really clever, and that creates a lot of chaos at the back for a team like Everton. And then other players can think, oh, I'm going to bang a goal in here, I'm going to have a shot. I mean, we were lucky last night in the sense that you've got a world-class player like Caroline Weir. That goal must be a contender for goal of the season. It was she scored some worldies, but I think that might be her best yet.
Yeah,
there's nothing on there.
Her agility just to do what she did was fantastic. I think there was a moment like that with Jess Park. I think it was last season. Different kind of goal, but very similar. A solo effort. Just drove with the ball, knew what she wanted to do, and got the finish. And it was an incredible finish. And I think it's gone viral, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, it has. It certainly all the different women's football websites and blogs, they've all gone, this is a brilliant goal, it's a worldie. She's not one for scoring a tap-in, Caroline. She likes to do it the hard way. But it was, she's one of the unsung heroes of that City side. I think the people think, there's lots of big names in that team. The likes of Lucy and Steph and Jill and others. But she is a world-class player in my view. She's absolutely brilliant. She works hard. She's capable of scoring great goals. She puts a lot of pressure on other players. I think she's great. And I think the other thing that struck me last night when I was watching the game, just how much of a difference Kira Walsh makes to us. When she's playing, we look like a different side. She makes that team tick in a way that you only notice when she's not there. When she's not there, you suddenly think, hang on, as good as the replacements are, but she makes that team tick in a way that is quite uncanny and really, shows she's developing into, one of the best players in Europe in that position, but without any doubt in my mind.
Kira's sometimes she just makes it look so easy, like as if it's effortless for Kira to do what she does with such precision, and she is just unbelievable. I've said it before, she's a player that plays beyond her years. She reads the game so well, and she understands the game like no one I know. She's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's that reading of the game and being able to get in position herself to mop up any trouble, make things happen. Her passing is sublime at times. She's not scared to put a foot in. She's just a very, very good player. And, always with great players, you never notice how great they are until they're not there. And you go, hang on, why are we struggling today? Oh, because that person's not there. That player's not in the team. So having her back, I think, has made a massive difference. It's given a stability to the midfield that we lacked a little bit. But also a bit of guile, as you say, and a bit of class as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was a real positive last night.
Speaking of positives, Ruby May is supposed to be buzzing this morning. Finally got a start.
Well, she's got her own song already, so that's not bad, is it? About 10 minutes into the game, there's a Ruby Mace chant from the supporters club, so that was great. No, I mean, she absolutely, what a debut. What a debut last night. I mean, that's one of the best debuts I've seen at our club. I think she absolutely nailed it last night against, good players. Tony Duggan is still a very, very good forward, and she had her in she wasn't phased. But what really impressed me was her willingness to get on the ball, her willingness to want the ball, because you might think, oh, it's my debut, I don't want to make a cock up, but she absolutely wanted the ball, and not only when she got the ball, her passing was excellent as well. She hit 2-3 balls. I thought, oh, that's really good, So she really, I can see why they signed her. She looked at home, in what was pretty much a makeshift back four, And it was interesting. What I was watching was whether Alex Greenwood, who was the sort of senior pro in that back four, whether she was trying to sort of basically, get her through the game. She didn't need that at all. She looked to the manner born to me. She looked like she'd been playing at that level for quite a long time. Yes, she's a young player. Yes, there's lots of work to be done, but it showed last night that she's got the potential, certainly to be in the England under 23s very soon, and potentially, if she keeps on with the progress that she showed last night, to be in the senior squad before so very long as well. So, and let's not get carried away. It's one game, but she wasn't playing Ipswich in the FA Cup. She was playing against top pros, top side, and she looked great. She looked like she's got the confidence to kick on and be a really, really great asset to our squad, particularly at the moment. Because I was thinking during the United game, Mancunian was playing for United, and I was thinking, she's a good player as well, and we got a shot at her. She'd be playing for us today if she stayed at City. Well, I think Ruby Mace is a much better long-term prospect. She just looked like she had everything that you need to be a very, very good player in the WSL.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I was really impressed and really pleased for her as well, given the weight that she's had. But to come in and really say, this is me, this is what I can do. Yeah, I wish her all the best. I really do with it, because like you said, she's just shown what she can do. And she's definitely a real upcoming prospect for the future, and the growth and development under the club itself. I'm sure she will develop and nurture into what will be a fantastic player for the future.
Well, she strikes me as from what I can see and what she says on Twitter and what she said in other interviews and comments, she strikes me as a very sensible young player who is keen to listen, keen to learn from top class players. And if you're playing with the likes of Lucy Bronze, and training with the likes of Lucy Bronze, Alex Greenwood, Steph Horton, Ginny and Becky, those sort of players, then you are going to get better if you listen. And she strikes me as the sort of player that is going to really listen and really take the opportunity of playing at one of the best clubs in the world. So I wish her all the best, because she definitely showed last night that she's got the potential to, in the future, as Steph comes towards the end of her career, potentially step into that role. So that's a really positive thing, that we can think of a bit of long-term development at centre half.
Alana Kennedy also back in the squad as well. I think it's also worth just talking about, though, Alex Greenwood, because I think over the last two games, and I certainly feel as though she is one player that is at times has been overlooked. Her start of the season, just building on from last as well, because I thought she was fantastic last season too. What a great player, what an asset she really has become for this City side.
Totally. Her leadership in the last two games has been outstanding. She's stepped up into, I don't know what her status is in the leadership team in the dressing room, but given that quite a few of our leaders are not on the pitch, she's stepped up. And not only that, she's again another top class player, absolutely top class player. Where I think she was outstanding last season. I think she was great last season. She was playing out of position last night. I know she's played at left back in the past, but she sees herself, and England see her as a centre half now. So she was prepared to take one for the team last night, and she was organising that back 3-4, however it looked.
Yeah.
But she is a player that looks to go forward. She stepped up. I think Alana Kennedy grew in confidence because she knew she was playing with a really good player next to her. And I thought credit to Alana Kennedy after the mishap she had in the game recently. She shrugged that off. I thought she grew into the game and looked like a really, really good player. I could see why she's been signed I always knew she was a good player, but she showed it last night. She didn't put a foot wrong. She played very strongly, I thought. But yeah, Alex, I think, is one of those players that you think, if you underrate her, then you don't know much about football. And I think if you asked her teammates and you asked the New England manager, who does know the game, is she the sort of person that you put, straight onto your team sheet? Everybody would say, yeah, we'd put her on the team sheet because, one, she's technically very good. Two, she reads the game really well. And three, she puts a shift in. And when you get those things together, then you do get a top-class player who we needed last night, and she stepped up massively. And she stepped up against United because she was getting, they were giving her, a really hard time because she's an ex-United player, but she didn't care. She just shrugged it off and got on with the game because that's the sort of pro she is. Why she didn't go to the Olympics will remain one of the great mysteries of women's football. I have no idea why she didn't go to Tokyo. Madness, absolute madness. She's a great player, great attitude. She should have been on that plane. And I think the last few games is a big sort of, to you, it's a big two fingers to that selection, which was wrong. She should have gone.
Obviously, on an international break now, which, again, when the last international break came along, I kind of felt we needed it, but now I kind of feel like we've got the results. I kind of wanted to push on a little bit. Once we return from the international break, we have got Chelsea at home, semi-final of the FA Cup on Halloween night, which is a little bit random, but one to look forward to, or just one to sort of ponder over in the next couple of weeks.
I have mixed feelings about that game. I mean, it could be a horror show, couldn't it? If it's on Halloween, it could be a nightmare and everything goes wrong. But I think it's a tricky one. I think Gareth's been a little bit unlucky with the fixtures because we were playing top sides repeatedly all the time, and we don't get much of respite. And I'm not knocking the teams a bit further down the league, but this, we could have done with perhaps playing, not having Chelsea straight after the international break. But you've got to play the big teams, and we've got to recognise that we are a big club. We are one of the 4 big clubs in that league, so we have to go and face Chelsea. They are a very good side, but we're starting to see some shoots of recovery coming through now. So I think two matches ago, I think we'd have been, looking at that game through our fingers and thinking, oh God. But now I think we can go in with a degree of confidence. They're a bit hit and miss this season. They're not. They can misfire as well. So I think if you can't go into an FA Cup semi-final and be fired up and give it a good go, I think there's something wrong, and I don't think you would question the commitment of our players. And let's be honest, most games that we play against Chelsea are tight affairs. There's not much in it. There's not much in it. And the two teams that go out and play football, I mean, the 3-3 at the academy was one of the best games of football I've ever seen. It was madness. Everyone just thought, oh, we're not doing defending today. We're just going to go at it. And I think it'll be that sort of game. And the prize is, for us as supporters, a trip to Wembley. So, let's keep our fingers crossed that we can get another day out of Wembley. I think it'll be a tough game because they are a very good side. But I think we've got the quality in our team. And we may get some of those players back, some of the players that are fringe. I'm not expecting Lucy or Steph necessarily, but I think we'll start, maybe Vicky Lasoda might be back, and we might see another couple of players, at least make the bench. So we'll have a full complement of substitutes. So not an easy game. If we win it, I would be delighted. I think they will be the favourites, sadly. And I hope that one season we get to a semi-final and we don't play Chelsea, because I think Chelsea fans will be thinking, we don't want to be playing City either. I think we're all bored of, one of two really good sides going out at that stage.
I wouldn't mind a final. We can't keep meeting like this in the semis, surely.
Exactly. I'm more than happy to play them in the final because anything can happen in the final, and in fairness, anything can happen in the semi-final. But I'd mind less losing at Wembley than losing at the Academy. You know, I know that sounds a strange thing to say, but at least you've got the day out at Wembley, and it's a massive event. And you know, they've got a big fan base. We've got a big fan base. It's a lovely atmosphere. You know, I think if we were playing them in the final, we'd probably break the record for attendance because I think with the casual people that come to the final, I think it would be a 60,000 plus crowd. So I'm just hoping that we go into that game with confidence. They're not unbeatable. They are fallible, and they've misfired a couple of times already this season. They struggled to get past Brighton, and that to throw on some of the big guns that they didn't want to drag off the bench for the event, to prepare them for the Juventus game. So I think that it's not an ideal tie, but if you want to win something, we keep saying it, you've got to beat the best teams, particularly in the latter stages of any competition. And we've got a good record in the cup. We've got a proud record in the FA Cup, and it'll be two clever coaches going up against each other. And who knows how many Chelsea players come back for the international break and maybe carrying injuries as well, because they're wall-to-wall internationals as well. So they've got a lot of players that'll be coming back, perhaps with niggles. So let's see how it plays out. I just hope we get some players back, and we've got a little bit on the bench that we can throw on if we need to, either to hold, to show up something or to go after the game. We shouldn't be scared of them. We should be respectful, like we always are. We should understand they're a good side, but when you look at our team, it's wall-to-wall internationals as well. So I think we anything can happen in a cup tie, literally anything. And I think somebody might knock it in from 25 yards. We might actually get a set piece that works. There's all sorts of things that can happen, but I think we're starting to turn the corner. It's coming at the right time. Hopefully we won't have any more injuries from an international break, and we can kick on and give our fans a well-deserved trip out to Wembley again, because it is a great day out. It's the best for me.
Yeah, without a doubt, I'd love for us to be able to do that, but just got to concentrate on the game in hand and see what happens on the day. I think I do almost feel and hope that this at this point now that City are coming out the other side of this bit of a lull that we've been having. Does it feel like that for you at the moment?
Totally. And I think last night, it wasn't just sweat and blood. It wasn't just commitment. We looked like a team that we were knocking the ball around. And I think once we realised we had the measure of Everton last night, some of the passing, some of the movement, some of the things that we expect from a City side, building from the back, beating their high press. They had a high press for quite a long time, and it didn't really faze us that much. There was a lot of really good, positive stuff that came out of last night. We looked like the City team that we know and love. And that's the first time, I think, this season I could say that. I think if we'd played like that against West Ham and Tottenham, which of course is the old what if thing, if we played anywhere like that against them, we'd have won those games. We just didn't perform in those games for whatever reason. Last night wasn't just let's get stuck in, let's roll our sleeves up, let's make the best of it. There was lots of really good quality play going on there, and they made a very good Everton side look quite ordinary at times. We had a number of chances, not and created, out of good play, not out of just hiking it forward. We were trying to make it, and the passing looked great. Midfield was much stronger. Having two good players up front helps. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be more optimistic about. We've still got a lot of problems, but I think if you think about all those players that have got to come back in, and at some point they will, I think Leigh Bond's rehab's quite advanced now. When you start to get those players coming back in, everything changes again, because they are top flight players in a top flight squad. So I do feel for Gareth because I think, he couldn't have predicted, this level of injury. And I think last night he got it right tactically as well. I think he got the formation right with what he had. It wouldn't have been if you said to him at the start of the season, you got the board out and said, let's put everybody on that board. That wouldn't have been the formation he chosen. But given that what he had to work with, I thought he got the tactics right, and I thought he'd motivated them properly. And his substitutions were quite canny as well. It's great when you can bring someone like Jill Scott on. I thought Jess Pack, when she came on, I thought she had a really solid 20 minutes or so. So I think he got it right last night. So let's hope that the pressure's off him a bit and off the players, and that they can use this time to get some players back. Those players that aren't going on international duty, to get some good training in, and for him to work with them a bit more, particularly the newer players, and get them, ready for a big game against Chelsea. And then what we hope will be a strong sort of last 2/3 of the season, really.
Yeah. I'm going to try and do this in the most hypothetical way, but if obviously there's no change to the side upon the return from the international break, same players available to us, would you look more towards the City side that lined up against United, or would you go for the City side that lined up against Everton?
I think given the quality of the performance last night, I'd be minded to go with the side that played last night, or a version of that. Because I don't think we've got quite enough numbers to play too flexibly, that in a way that City would normally play. I think you need to get your good players, the guile players, the clever players on the field, and that for me, I would have Bunny and Ellen in the side against them, because I think it would cause them problems. Because I don't rate Millie Bright at all. I have no time for Millie Bright as a player. I don't think she's anything like the way the standard she's cracked up to be. So I think they would cause her a lot of problems, particularly. And I think that their back four would find that more difficult to deal with. So I think, given what we don't know who's going to be available, and I don't even know how long George Stanway's banned for. I don't know if she's on a 1 or a 3 match.
I think it's 3.
Yeah, so she's not available, and she's the sort of player you want in that sort of game, because she does, make it awkward for players, to say the least, and that can be to the detriment of the other bits of her game that are really good. But those sort of games, I also think the Chelsea City games can be quite niggly as well, just because they're good players and they don't give an inch. That it's not that it's nasty. It's just that the two really good teams, you just won't give an inch. And that's how it should be. That's how it should be in the women's game. We should be seeing teams that just front it up and say, right, we're going to go at it, and we've got pride in what we do as professionals, and we walk back down. So I think we've got that in the team now. I think we showed a real spirit over the last 2 games, and I think that will carry us into that game, which is tough and will be tough. But I think I'm much more, I wouldn't say relaxed, because that's stretching it.
Relaxed, not relaxed, not relaxing yet, Paul.
No, not relaxed, but a little bit more confident in. We're starting to see us learning the lessons and starting to put that into practice. You can't read too much into one game, but I think with the 2 games, I think it's shown that we're starting to pull round into a much stronger position than we were, and I don't think we're going to give away as many silly points as we have this season, for the rest of the season. I think we'll be kicking on.
So, Paul, how are you going to spend the next couple of weeks?
Well, I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to try not to get too worried or wound up about the Chelsea game, but I'm also going to spend some time watching the England team. I really rate the new manager. I think she's fantastic, a real breath of fresh air. I'm delighted that she's created an England under 23 sort of feeder squad, which is brilliant. I think that's exactly what the game needs. We want to see young players coming into that squad. I think sometimes that England squad can feel a bit like a closed shop. So we want to make sure that the young talent's coming through, and obviously Jess Park is part of that. So I'll be watching the England team, and I'll be mulling over what we might have achieved with that team if we'd had a decent manager at the World Cup. So I think there's lots to be positive about, and I think we just need to switch our attention to the national side, because I think there's a huge amount of potential. You look at that squad now, that's a really, really strong England side now, and we're starting to see some good young players come through. So with a good manager, a good squad, and big crowds during the England games, I think it's only going to be good for the women's game in general. And I'm really looking forward to watching England over the next couple of weeks, and then get back to the business end, which is, back at the academy and rowing the team on, and hopefully get to another FA Cup final.
Definitely. Well, thank you ever so much, Paul, for joining me. Always appreciate your time. Enjoy the next couple of weeks, and I will see you at the academy on the 31st of October for that semi-final against Chelsea.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Emma. Cheers.
See you later.
Bye.
And you're listening to MCW Fancast.
And that's it for this week's episode. Thanks to Paul for joining me. Also, thanks to Charlotte for editing this week's episode. We'll be back after the international break on Friday, the 29th of October. And in the meantime, we're just going to be sat around, not worrying about Chelsea and the FA Cup semi-final that we've got once we return. We'll see you then.